Merry Christmas, everyone. My name is Narrow Raven. Welcome to the FNAF timeline. I've worked really hard on this. I've reviewed this video so many times and even had my own friends and family behind the scenes read this to make sure this all made sense. So we'll be covering everything in this video from the very beginning all the way to FNAF Ruin. I would do Help Wanted too, but as I'm writing and recording this script, it's the 11th. So yeah, let's get into it. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button. Since it's the end of the year, we don't have a goal right now, so just hit that subscribe button if you like this video or the content I post. Share this video with your friends and family, as every bit helps. Comment down your theories below, or just how your day was, for a chance to be in my next video. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. We don't know a lot of Henry and William's beginning into becoming business partners. However, we do know some things. We know that in the very beginning, Henry and William had very similar dreams. They both wanted to bring fun and entertainment to kids. William was the first to do this with his old costumes, almost like the ones you'd see at Disney World with their mascot costumes. However, eventually, Henry threw his hat into the ring and made animatronics. They are recognized to be Henry's design by the hinge and sliding jaws, as well as battery packs you can see on them. These animatronics blew up in popularity and eventually took over William's business. And with William's business on the rocks, Henry helped William by giving him money William needed in return for his partnership. Together they made Fazbear Entertainment. William was insulted that he needed help from someone to continue his career, but he was happy overall as he could continue his career in the first place. Henry and William made Fredbear's Family Diner, though while all this huge success from Fredbear's Family Diner was going well, Henry couldn't take care of his youngest child, Charlotte. So he made an endoskeleton that would mimic what Charlotte would do. The mimic worked wonders, as it would play and take care of Charlotte while Henry was at work. William, on the other hand, was hard at work at Fredbear's Family Diner, making sure his 3 kids were safe, especially the 2 sons, Michael and the crying child. Michael would bully the crying child a lot, and William would always have to tell him off. This began to annoy William a lot. I mean, a lot. He was sick of the crying child acting so scared and always crying around the animatronics, and his son Michael using them to bully the crying child. So William had an idea. An insane idea, but an idea nonetheless. William wanted the crying child to love Fredbear's. So on his birthday week, William wanted the crying child to spend more time at the diner so that he wouldn't be so scared of them. After all, William would one day want one of his children to take over the business when he was too old, and Michael definitely wasn't going to be the one to do it. Though, to help the crying child get over his fears, he made the gas chambers in a bunker under his house. The gas chambers were used at night, and the crying child would be put down there during the night to scare the crying child to help him get over his fears. The gas would enter through vents, and when breathed in would make you see things that weren't actually there. William made sure he saw animatronics by having dummies on carts that would roll down the hall and in the bedroom to scare him. William thought that this was working, and the days of the week passed by until the day of the crying child's birthday. He tasked Michael to watch him while he worked that day, but he would be there to watch the crying child once he accomplished his task for the day. However, Michael had other plans. Michael got his friends together to bully the crying child and to really get him over his fear of the animatronics. Michael wanted the crying child to give Fredbear a big kiss, and on the count of 3, Michael and the bullies put the crying child into Fredbear's mouth. With the crying child scared and crying, his tears seeped down into the spring locks of the Fredbear suit, causing him to clamp shut, biting off his frontal lobe, putting the crying child into a coma, and later unaliving him in the hospital. William was furious, not only with Michael, but also with Henry. After all, the spring locks were Henry's design. Henry made them. So Henry's creation unalived his son, and William wasn't just going to let this go without repercussions. William went to work in his bunker and made 4 animatronics: Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy. These animatronics were made for one thing and one thing only: take Henry's child away from him. William knew this would work. Henry thought that this new restaurant idea, Circus Baby's Pizza World, was a great idea, and Henry knew that Fredbear's Family Diner couldn't exist anymore with the tragedy that happened, so Henry worked on a new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, though we will get into the points of this location later. However, William knew that his own kids couldn't be around these animatronics, and he told his kids not to be around them. Michael already didn't care about them, but Elizabeth, his daughter, did. She loved Baby. Baby was made after her after all, so why couldn't she be by Baby? Eventually, one day Elizabeth did go to hang out with Baby alone. However, this would be the last thing she did. Elizabeth was lured in by Baby with ice cream, and as she went to take it, William knew what happened soon after and was furious, angry, sad. He was everything but happy. William, for a time being, stopped his work at Fazbear Entertainment and went into a drunk phase. Though one day he couldn't stop his anger. He knew when Henry worked, so he decided that this day he was going to tell Henry how he felt at this new Freddy Fazbear's location. Though he found something even better in his drunken rage. When he arrived, he found Charlotte, Henry's daughter. William got out of the car and unlived Charlotte himself. After all, if you want something done right, just do it yourself. However, William didn't account for an animatronic inside the establishment. The security puppet that was designed for Charlotte went looking for her, found her body, and laid next to her as it shut down due to the rain. Henry grieved over his now unalived daughter, though the mimic kept acting like his daughter. This angered Henry, and Henry dismantled the mimic, pouring all of his agony into the mimic. Henry left, and the mimic now learned something new. It learned pain, and it would go on to copy this action and follow Henry every chance it got. William was happy. He found joy in what he did and knew that he could continue what he did. Henry was making a new location, and William couldn't stand knowing that Henry could still be successful after what Henry did to his son and daughter. William in 1985 went to the new Freddy Fazbear's location and lured 5 kids in the spring Bonnie suit and unalived all of them, putting them in the different suits of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and the yellow bear, Fredbear. This tragedy shut down the location and put Henry back to the drawing board. Henry thought that how could this not only happen to his child, but 5 other children? He needs to make these locations more safe, more secure. So he came up with an idea: facial recognition. Henry used some parts from the old animatronics and some new ones to make the new and improved toy animatronics to be at the grand reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, all new and all safe. This worked wonders, as they would always mark possible criminals and other threats, though they would always stare at adults even if they weren't criminals. Harry thought this was just a design flaw, as they were just reading their face to process it through the database, but it was something far more sinister. But let's go back a little to what William was doing, maybe a few months or a year before this new location officially opened. William, however, in the meantime, went to check on the old animatronics he built himself. He wanted to mourn his daughter, and the only way he could do that now was by going to the baby animatronic. Though he noticed something weird. The eye color has changed. Could his daughter be in there? We don't know how William found out about possessions, but we know it had to do with baby. Though at first, this horrified William. His daughter is still conscious in the suit. She's possessing it. He couldn't bring himself to destroy the suit, so he tasked Michael to do this, while he went back to the old Freddy Fazbear's location to disassemble the animatronics. After all, if the kids he took are still able to communicate, it could blow his cover. William hurried to the location night by night, destroying one by one, and by the 5th night, he destroyed every single suit. Those kids won't be able to mess with William now, right? Though, while he was getting ready to leave, the spirits emerged from the suits. William was horrified, and without knowing what to do, he went into the old Spring Bonnie suit, the same suit he wore to lure these kids. It seemed to stump the kids, and William was relieved to see this. However, the leaking ceiling mixed with his laughter set off the spring locks, slowly and painfully, yet quietly, unaliving William in the suit, with him being left in this room for the next 30 years unalived, but yet still alive. William now possesses the Spring Bonnie suit. Now what about Michael? Well, Michael knew his sister was down there somewhere, so each night he kept going back, trying to make sure that his sister was actually down there. He eventually learned that his sister was Baby, his sister possessing the suit. He listened to Baby. On the 5th night, he was lured into the scooper room, and he saw that Baby has merged with the others, making Ennard. Ennard, mainly controlled by Baby, scooped Michael and used his unalived body to leave the underground bunker, to be normal, a human. However, an unalived body is only fresh for a week. So, when the body was no longer usable, Ennard left Michael's body and hid in the sewers, presumably for the next 30 years. However, Michael wasn't dead. The remnant in Ennard, as well as the remnant in the scooper that was used to unalive Michael, remained in Michael. Michael was alive, and he knew what his father was up to. It all made sense. His sister's disappearance, the 5 missing children, it was his father, and Michael is going to fix this. Henry went back to the old location for these animatronics to make his facial recognition idea and maybe to use them as performers again, but instead found the grisly scene of what happened to William. Henry knew what was happening here. William was trying to sabotage him, so Henry left the suit with William unalived in there, sealing it shut while he took the old suits and rebuilt them as best he could, though by doing this, the souls were also put back into the suits. Henry, however, was successful in his plans to make this location safer, or so he thought. The old parts he used were possessed by these animatronics, and the newer models would stare at adults not to process, but were suspecting adults of being the ones that took their lives. The missing children were now possessing the old suits, and the new ones, the old and new ones, at once. And one day, Mangle thought that the new day shift guard was William and bit his frontal lobe. This was the bite of 87, and it presumably unalived this guard. Michael knew he had to fix what his father has done, first by finding the old animatronics that hold the 5 children and release them. He knew he had to do this, and luckily enough, Henry opened a new restaurant with the old robots in there. So the night before the bite of 87, Michael landed the job and tampered with the animatronics. This doesn't work, however, and Michael was fired, though Michael had no clue that he just signed the death certificate for the new day shift guard the next morning, and all this tampering did was make the animatronics less stable and more susceptible to the children that now possessed these suits. Henry was now furious. Not once, not twice, but 3 times his creations failed. He still needs money, and all he can do is take these old robots and this old Fredbear's location and make a new Freddy Fazbear's restaurant. Henry got to work and made this new location, and despite all the tragedies, it was successful for a time being. Not as successful as it was in the 80s, but successful nonetheless. Michael instantly tried to land a job there under a new name, and it worked. He worked for 7 nights, and each night the evidence was all there. They are possessed, and this worked perfectly. Mike tampered with them again, even dismantling them, and it seemed to have worked. Michael was fired for this, but he didn't care. He freed those kids, right? Mike rested easy for a while, though he wondered, where's my father? Where's that thing that used me? Mike didn't think too much about it until about 10 years later, maybe. A new attraction called Fazbear's Frights opened. Michael panicked. They can't be doing this. They're just bringing everything back. Michael had to work here, and he did land the job. The first night, everything was fine. Just a horror attraction with nothing weird going on. Until the next night, Michael was found that they found a functioning animatronic at one of the old locations. Michael panicked. If there could be another working animatronic, what are the odds this one is also possessed? That night, Michael did see this animatronic, and he recognized it instantly. It was a suit that his father wore at work, Spring Bonnie. Though, there's something inside of it. A man. Could this be his father? This broke Michael's sanity, and he couldn't handle this torment. Every day he would sleep with memories he didn't have. Those of being in an underground house with nightmarish robots, and by night being tormented by phantoms and this Spring Bonnie suit. He had to stop this, and he did. He burned it all to the ground. Michael escaped, and no one else. At least that's what he thought. He had done it. It worked. Everyone can rest. Henry during this time was piecing together his life. He didn't understand where he went so wrong, who kept hurting his business, though he realized who it was when he saw William in that suit. William took his daughter. William took those 5 kids. William was responsible for his own daughter. William was behind all of this. So Henry made that Fazbear's Frights location to destroy everything, though Michael had his own plan and tried to do it himself. Though this didn't help. William survived this fire, and Henry knew that baby, his daughter, and those 5 kids were still out there somewhere. So Henry made a plan. Take that old Fredbear's family diner, build it to trap these animatronics and burn it all down with himself inside. Henry wanted to end it all where it all started. Michael heard about this location and was instantly intrigued. He bought the business startup from Henry, and they worked together to bring the animatronics to this location. And by the end of it all, baby, Charlotte, William, and the 5 kids were all there. And on Saturday, they burned it to the ground. Henry didn't want Mike involved in this, but he knew it's what Mike wanted. Everything ends today. Everything ends. Or so Henry thought. William, after the fire, reawakened in a weird office. He didn't know what was happening until he checked the cameras in front of him. He saw all the past animatronics that he either built, came across, or destroyed, and they were all after him. And this was William's personal hell. The spirit inside Golden Freddy Cassidy kept William alive to torture him in his own mind, to get revenge on William. This continued for who knows how long until Cassie stopped his revenge on William and let him pass. Fazbear Entertainment was in shambles after this fire. Yes, they still had many successful locations, but how could they expand and explain this incident again? There was just another major fire at another one of their locations. Well, here's an idea. Make a bunch of animatronics to send to people's houses for parties based on the original animatronics. All the way from the beginning to the end, all these animatronics were available to rent. It was a cheap startup as it didn't require new businesses to be made and people rented them themselves. Though, there was an issue with this idea. People didn't like Fazbear Entertainment anymore because of the past they had. After all, who would want some evil robots to attend their kid's birthday party? Well, let's make a game. A VR game making fun of those events and telling people that those are just scary stories made by some insane game developer. Though, the development was rough, as programming these animatronics to be realistic in-game was tougher than anyone thought. Until someone went and found the Mimic. Yeah, remember him? The Mimic was around us the whole time throughout the story. When Mike was in the bunker looking for Baby, there's a good chance that the Mimic wasn't Baby. And when the last restaurant opened, Mimic was there. Mimic was following every move that Mike, Henry, and William made. And the Mimic was also burned alongside Henry, Mike, and William, and all the others. And someone grabbed the Mimic's chip to use to program the animatronics, and it worked perfectly. Though there was an issue. This chip brought in a virus that would take over people's minds. This virus was called Glitch Trap, an extension of the Mimic. The Mimic wanted to be like William after all. He saw what William did to everyone. And even more now that he was in this VR recreation of William's past. So after many attempts, he secured one person, Vanessa. Vanessa was a playtester on this game, but was transferred to the original plan of sending the animatronics to parties. Vanessa was a little strange though, as she would search terrifying things such as methods to harm others and other strange things. This got her flagged by Fazbear Entertainment, and she went to therapy as a requirement by Fazbear Entertainment. Though, while at therapy, she was close to one of the higher ups at Fazbear Entertainment and used this opportunity to make the Pizzaplex. The higher ups thought this was a great idea, and Vanessa and Glitch Trap were excited. A new playground for their William Afton recreations. The Pizzaplex was built, and Vanessa was still going to therapy. And while at therapy, however, she met a kid named Gregory. Gregory loved the Pizzaplex and was even a good hacker. Vanessa saw this opportunity to get into the animatronics at the new location so she could have help unaliving kids. So she put Gregory under Glitch Trap's control, and Gregory obeyed her every command. Gregory hacked into every animatronic, infecting them with the Glitch Trap virus. Gregory, however, managed to escape Glitch Trap's control right as it was going to take over the animatronics, and Gregory knew he had to hide. Gregory hid inside of the currently deactivated Glamrock Freddy, and when Freddy rebooted, he was friendly. Gregory got help from Freddy to try to escape, but it didn't matter. The Pizzaplex was locked for the night, and Gregory had to survive. So Gregory ran, jumped, and fought the now corrupted Glamrock gang and others throughout the night, completing these odd Princess Quest mini-games, and eventually he did make it to 6 a.m., though Gregory knew that if he left, more people would get hurt. So Gregory and Freddy went to Vanessa's hideout in the Pizzaplex for one last battle. Freddy got dismantled and Gregory ran, got into Vanessa's hideout, and beat the final Princess Quest minigame. Freeing Vanessa from Glitch Trap's control, Gregory, Freddy, and Vanessa left the Pizzaplex, though they returned not too long after. Vanessa knew the Mimic was still down in the Pizzaplex. The Pizzaplex was built over the old Freddy Fazbear's location, where that final fire took place. So Gregory, Freddy, and Vanessa went down to the bowels of the Pizzaplex to contain the Mimic. They blocked the Mimic with a concrete wall and a new entity, Mexes, a digital entity to keep the Mimic locked in the basement forever. That is, until the Mimic reached Cassie, Gregory's best friend. Cassie was contacted by, and I'm going to call the Mimic Grimmick for this, Gregory and Mimic. It's weird to explain, but Mimic mimics Gregory, so Grimmick. So Grimmick called Cassie to come to the Pizzaplex as he was in danger. Cassie didn't hesitate to come help what she thought was Gregory, but is actually the Mimic. And, well, she did her best. She avoided the still corrupted Glamrock gang and friends, reunited with Roxy, who overcame the Glitch Trap virus when she came in contact with Cassie, and made her way down into the bowels of the Pizzaplex, and even deeper in the old Freddy Fazbear's location. She disabled Mexes and opened that concrete wall to reveal the Mimic. Cassie, scared, froze in place, and Roxy came in to help. Cassie tried to run and succeeded, escaping in the elevator, only for the Mimic to cut the cords to it. Cassie fell to her unaliving. This is where the current story of FNAF ends, and the end of our timeline. There honestly aren't a lot of issues with this timeline. A lot of it flows together. Really, the only issue is the Mimic, as it's hard to know exactly where he is after Henry dismantles him. Him being a baby does make sense, as he can shapeshift and obviously has by Ruin, but there's nothing that we can say that confidently confirms or denies that. Otherwise, we also don't know where else he could appear. I mean, him being at the FNAF 6 fire is the most likely place for him to appear in the story as well, alongside him being a baby. So, I can't really see much of an issue with the rest of this timeline except the dates. The dates are really confusing, and that's why I didn't really mention them that much. But I will have like a very rough timeline, like in terms of dates, in my final thoughts section. Which, yeah, we're gonna get into in a second. But yeah, it's just Security Breach and Ruin that gives me issues. So if you guys can help me out, piece those two together better, please go right on ahead in the comments. And if you do help me out and I do make another timeline, I will have you in my next timeline video. So otherwise, let's get right into my final thoughts and then my outro. Okay, so I'd give this timeline a 8 or 9 out of 10. A lot of it flows together really well, explains why William and Henry and Mike do certain things, and where this story continues. Of course, with Ruin and Security Breach, we are still understanding things with it as we speak, and with the Mimic it's the same thing. We are still learning about him. So overall, I think this timeline is insanely likely. Like, you have no idea how much I think this is actually our timeline. But let's get into the dates though. I believe it goes like this. 1980 to 1983 is William and Henry's beginning, as well their partnership beginning. 1983 is the bite of 83. Soon after, William makes the fun times. Still in 1983, Elizabeth gets scooped. Soon after this, maybe a year later, so at the latest, in maybe 1984, William unalives Charlotte. Soon after, Henry destroys the Mimic. 1984, Henry makes a new location, and in 1985, William unalives and stuffs 5 children into the animatronic suits. 1985 to 1986, William discovers Remnant and panics, so he sends Mike to dismantle the baby animatronic while William handles the 5 missing children. Michael during this time gets scooped by Ennard and vows to fix what his father has done. William also during this time gets springlocked into Springtrap. In 1986 to 1987, Henry finds William, locks William in the back room, and takes the old animatronics for parts. 1987, Mike works at this new location and tries to free the animatronics, but in reality only signed the death certificate for the day shift guard, which later became to be known as the Bite of 87. A few years later, Mike works at a new location that still has these old animatronics, and he works at this location for longer than before. He dismantled these animatronics and thought everything was okay, until about 10 years later, he found Fazbear's Fright. He went to work here to make sure nothing else was going on, and there was. He panicked and burned down Fazbear's Frights. Henry wanted this location to be the end of all the suffering, but it failed due to Mike, so he made a new location, Pizzeria Simulator. This is where everything burns, and very soon after, William is tormented by Cassidy. After this, it's very easy to say what happens when. The animatronic party rental plan is put in place, then FNAF VR happens, then the rental plan is released. During this time, the Pizzaplex was being made due to Vanessa being possessed by Glitchtrap. Then, Vanessa gets Gregory under Glitchtrap's control, Gregory hacks into the animatronics, is freed from Glitchtrap's control, and then Security Breach happens, and Vanessa is freed from Glitchtrap's control. Vanessa, Gregory, and Freddy go back to the Pizzaplex to contain the Mimic and succeed. Then Cassie gets contacted by the Mimic, is tricked that it's Gregory, and goes to save Gregory only to find out it's the Mimic, and later Cassie is presumably unalived by the end of Ruin. And that is the very rough summary of the timeline. Notice how there's no really dates at the end, and that's because, well, we don't really get any dates past the FNAF 1 location. Fazbear Frights is the start of the no date, which should be in 2023, but I don't believe that. But yeah, that's everything, so let's get right into the outro. I can't believe I actually did this again. I wasn't going to do a timeline for a while as I wanted more with FNAF, but I just had this light bulb one day where everything just flowed together really well, and I had to go with it and try this again. I'm writing this 2 weeks before Christmas, and I'm editing it while I'm out of town to make sure you all get this before or on Christmas. So if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it would mean so much to me. Also, share this video with friends and family, as every bit helps. And while you're at it, comment down below your theories, thoughts, just how your day was, or what you got for Christmas, and you could appear in my next video. Otherwise, Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you all have a great day, stay safe, stay merry, and peace out. Soon after, William makes the fun times. Still in 1983, William gets scooped.